Hello and welcome to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be taking another look at Football Manager 2022. Now we're working our way down through the central midfield now. Last time we spoke about the advanced playmaker role that I quite like playing, and now we're going to speak about the role that helps balance that out in the team, really, the box-to-box role. And this is a role that only comes with a support mentality, and that's fine. And what this role is they're basically the engine room, the heartbeat of your side. They're someone who's going to, get forward and support attacks. There's someone who's going to, come out and cover for your fullbacks and inside forwards as they push on. It's someone who's going to come back and help out with defence when required and do some good work in and around your own penalty area. So really someone who's as the old cliche goes, covering every blade of grass. So there's a few things that we need to bear in mind when we're picking a good box-to-box player. We'll get to that in a second. First of all, I just wanted to take a look at someone who is probably one of, if not the best players in this position in the game. And this is Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. And he's at Lazio at the moment. He's 26 years old, so he's in his prime really for this kind of role. And we're going to look at the sort of things that mark him out as being very good for this box-to-box role. So one of the first things we want to look at, I think, is stamina. We want someone who's going to be able to work really hard and go the distance really in terms of how long they're out on the field for. And allied to that, and kind of within the same brackets, I'm going to put them together, is teamwork and work rate. So someone who's going to help out their own team. They're not going to be too individualistic. It's kind of some people have called it the water carrier role, which I think is a bit of a backhanded compliment, but you can sort of from that glean, what sort of role this is. And work rate is someone who's just going to keep working hard throughout the 90 minutes, and that's why we want good stamina. Another good thing to have is natural fitness. So as the heartbeat of your side, you're going to want to be able to call on this player week after week, and he's going to be able to, always be at peak condition, basically. Like Savic here is, a fantastic natural athlete. Other things that are going to be good to look for is a decent tackling statistic. Doesn't need to be super high, but certainly around the early to mid-teens probably for this. Marking's good as well, but tackling really, because that is going to be part of their role, as is passing and vision. So they're not going to be the most creative player in your midfield. That's going to be the advanced playmaker, but you still want them to be able to pick out a good pass as and when required. Movement is pretty important, so something like off the ball and anticipation, again, are very good things to have. You want someone who's going to make the right runs and, be in the right place at the right time, basically. Savic has a lot of flair. I don't think that's necessarily something that's so important for this role, but, if you had minimum of, say, 10 or 11 there, that would probably be fine, I would think. But something that is highly important for this role, I think anyway, is bravery and determination. So someone who's not afraid of a challenge, they're going to sort of throw themselves in without sort of being too worried about how badly they might come off in that situation. And determination. So, they're going to be in the thick of the fight, really. They're going to be holding off challenges. They're going to be, here it says, the player's commitment to succeed and do his very best on and off the pitch. So it's a good stat to have. As to sort of the part of the spine of your team, it depends on what sort of system you're playing, really. It's not necessarily super essential, but I quite like it anyway, which is good jumping and heading. Just someone who's going to be winning those sort of aerial balls in the middle of the field. Something like, the opposition goalkeeper's goal kicks and stuff. If he can win the header and sort of get it on going ahead to one of the inside forwards, perhaps up the wings, that would be a very helpful trait. And yeah, good technique. Being able to strike the ball sweetly is pretty good. And really everything you kind of look for in this position, Milinkovic-Savic does have. In terms of the cost, he's not, if we're talking about your Haalands and, your Salahs and how much they would cost for being the best in their position, actually Savic is fairly affordable in those terms. I mean, you could probably, looking at this, get him for around the £60 million mark, possibly. But we're going to move on from Savic to someone who has the potential to become probably the best in the game in this position. And that person is Jude Bellingham at Borussia Dortmund, young English player. And probably for people watching this, I'm fairly familiar with him in real life as well. He seems to be the player of the moment that every team, every elite team wants to sign for their midfield. And with good cause, I think. You can see here, even at the age of 18 at Borussia Dortmund, he's got a price tag of over £100 million potentially. And certainly in my games, I don't think I've ever succeeded in signing that at the beginning of the game. He's generally wanted to stay at Dortmund. It's his second season there, but he has wanted to keep playing there. But I have got him, say, a season or two into the game, and I've paid somewhere around the 80 to £100 million mark. And there's also a couple of campaigns. He's actually signed a contract with a minimum fee release clause of around £105 million. So keep an eye out for that, because that would be the ceiling figure you'd be able to get him for, which is quite good to know. He's already a natural in this position. I mean, he's got the fitness, the stamina, the work rate, teamwork, determination, and bravery. He's quite an aggressive player, which is not necessarily an essential for a box-to-box, but it's quite useful to have. He is going to be getting stuck in. Anticipation off the ball, also very good. He's pretty good at marking and tackling. In fact, in some of my campaigns, it said his most natural role is actually as a ball-winning midfielder. That tends to be a more defensive version of the box-to-box, someone who carries out the defensive side of that without necessarily getting forward. But I think that's a slight waste of his talents, because he's got the flair. His passing and vision are both pretty good. High teamwork there, we can see. And I'm going to put up a slide now of what he's going to look like in about 4 seasons' time, I think. And you can see that, his almost limitless potential. And if we come back, we're going to look at his player traits. So again, he's got the gets into opposition area. He's quite argumentative, but plays 1s, 2s is quite nice for a box-to-box, I think, as well. Very highly rated. Also, an English national teammate of Bellingham's we're going to look at is James Ward-Prowse at Southampton. Perhaps slightly more of a budget option. It says here, at the beginning of the game, he's valued at around the £30 million to £45 million mark, and you'd probably be able to get him for that. But I've played campaigns where going into his late 20s, he's been available for like 80 to £100 million, and indeed in some cases it's just got a label here saying not for sale, because Southampton are really keen to keep hold of him. So he's got some really good traits. He's got 20 for stamina and natural fitness, so he's going to be able to play 90 minutes day in, day out for your team, twice a week probably. He does have pretty good stats in other areas as well. He's got decent acceleration, but his teamwork, vision, and work rate, you can see they're all very, very high, as is his determination. Bravery is still pretty good. Again, like Bellingham, he's a quite aggressive player. His passing's very good technique, good first touch. But anyone who's seen him in real life or followed him at Southampton will know that it's in set pieces where he really shines. You can see here, free kick taking 20, corners are 20, and the crossing's 18 as well. This guy will, get loads of assists. And in fact, if you followed my near post corner guide that I did a few weeks ago, put this guy taking your corners in using that setup, and your centre backs will probably be like 20 goal a season players. So very highly regarded James Ward-Prowse. We're going to move on to someone quite different, Franck Kessie. Again, he's someone who within the game is probably highlighted a bit more as a defensive role, like a ball-winning midfielder, but I think he's got qualities that set him out as a good box-to-box player as well. You can see he's got the stamina, very high natural fitness. He's got good strength as well. He's going to be able to hold off players and challenges. He's reasonably quick, decent acceleration. He's quite an aggressive player, quite determined and brave. He's got good anticipation and off the ball. Positioning is good too, so when he is sort of in the more defensive phase of the game, he's someone who's going to be able to put in those challenges, as you can see as well from his 15 for marking and tackling as well. Very high work rate and teamwork, so he's going to be covering every blade of grass. He's also a very good penalty taker, which is quite valuable to have in your team as well. So quite highly rated by me. He's very low cost here, and the reason for that, I think, is because he's now in his last year of his contract. So at the start of the game, he's got a year left. He's could be available, potentially for around the 25 to 30 million pound mark. Looking at this, but I've also seen him move for a free as well. So if you're perhaps willing to chance it. Maybe you could court him through the media and get him liking the idea of moving to your team, and he might well run that contract down, and at the start of the 22 season you might be able to get him for nothing. Also playing in Italy is Nicolo Barella, who I was undecided whether to put Barella or Milinkovic-Savic as kind of the ideal box-to-box player. And in the end I went with Savic as a slightly older, more developed, if you like, player. Because Barella's 24, so he's still got room to grow. However, he's already a natural in this position. You know, good stamina, good strength, quite quick. He's very good natural fitness, very high for bravery and determination. His concentration's very good as well, which is going to help him in the defensive phases of the game. He's very aggressive, which, combined with the determination and the bravery, might mean that he's a bit of a card machine. So he might get booked a lot putting in challenges. However, he is very good at tackling, so his tackles are going to be accurate. So you can see there he's a very good at the defensive side of the game. But if we look at his passing and vision, both at 16, he's someone who can see a pass and pick it out very successfully. Decent technique there. His teamwork and work rate are very, very high, so he's going to keep running throughout the entire game. And yeah, he's just sort of very good technically as well, with good dribbling and crossing and all of that. Decent marking as well. He's not the biggest. He's only 5'8", so his jumping and heading is less. So he's not going to be, as I said at the beginning, like a Milinkovic-Savic who's winning those headers in the middle of the field and perhaps building attacks from there. But when the ball's on the ground, there's probably very few players in the game that are as effective as him in central midfield. He gets forward. Again, he's someone who gets forward wherever possible, despite his defensive ability. He tries killer balls often with his passing and vision. That's a good trait to have. Dives into tackles is a worry, combined with his aggression and determination. And so in FM22, you can actually untrain traits from players. And if you do buy Barella, it might be worth looking into getting rid of this dives into tackles statistic. And he runs with the ball often as well. He's not got the highest dribbling, but he's good enough at that. And I think I've got a slide here of what he'll look like in a few years' time, so you can see that he continues to develop. He's a very good player. In terms of cost, it's difficult. He's fairly reasonable at the beginning of the game, like maybe sort of a 60 to 70 million pounds you could get him for. I've certainly seen him move late in future seasons for closer to 100 million. Samuele Ricci, I think is how you pronounce that. He's probably, well, aside from Bellingham, he's the youngest player we're looking at in this video, and he's someone who does have very good potential to improve in this central midfield role, this box-to-box role. Just quickly looking at his player traits, as well as the get forward wherever possible, which is, as we've said, a good trait for a box-to-box. Dictating the tempo is good, means he can possibly even play as more of a deep-lying playmaker there if required. Maybe if you're playing a stronger team and don't want the box-to-box to get forward quite as much. Tries long-range passes, and his passing 16, so that's going to improve as well. So he's very good at that and runs with the ball often. He's got decent dribbling. But he's got good natural fitness, good stamina. He's quite agile. He's got good anticipation and off the ball. As we said, good passing and vision. His determination is quite high. Bravery and aggression are good. In fact, the aggression I prefer to be a bit lower than we saw with Barella. Having a 12 means he's going to get up in people's faces, but not so much that he's a bit of a walking yellow or even red card. Decent dribbling. He's got okay tackling at 12. Marking's not great, but I don't think marking is as important for a box-to-box because they're not going to be marking players. When they're tackling, they're going to be sort of running back and getting in probably side or tackles from the back on the edge of the area. And decent technique as well. So I do quite like him, but I'm going to put up a slide of how he's going to be looking in a few seasons' time. And we can see that he does get a lot better as well. I've actually seen it quite varied in terms of his potential. I do have the editing tool installed. If we look here on this playthrough, he has a potential of 167. I've seen that go as high as 173. Which is world class category, but I've also seen it be as low as 155 or even slightly lower than that, which is good without being world class. So it's perhaps a bit random in terms of his maximum potential in the game, but certainly worth looking at. And if you have the sort of scouting tool where you can see their potential ability, then use that. But yeah, he's potentially available for a reasonable amount. He's currently on loan from Empoli, as we can see here. And I think if we look at his contract info, oh yeah, so he's it is until the end of this 21-22 season. It does have an optional future fee as the only thing, so I don't know. It's not something they're definitely going to take up, but they could. So it's not someone you'll definitely be able to get at this start of the game, and possibly not even in the summer if Torino do exercise that clause. But if they don't, and he returns to Empoli, and you're looking to sign him, I've signed him for the 30 to 50 million pound bracket, and by then, at the end of this season, he'll already have improved some of these stats, and be a very good option, but also development option as well. So those are the players I was going to look at for the box-to-box role. It's a funny one because the box-to-box players, they could be possibly players Mazzalas if they're tending towards the more attacking side, as some of those we looked at are, or the more ball-winning side, the slightly more defensive phases of the game. And there's ones that do both equally well. So it does provide quite a good balance as a role. In the 4-3-3, we do also play with a defensive midfielder behind them, so that's why I tend to go for a box-to-box rather than a ball-winning midfielder role. In the 4-2-3-1, I do tend to go more for the ball-winning role in the central midfield too. But a lot of the players we've looked at can do that as well. So, most of them, perhaps not Ricci here, but certainly like Bellingham and Barella, Kessie, Ward-Prowse even, do equally do that well. So, whichever formation you're playing, they will fit into it. So that's it. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, then please do hit the like button on the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you next time, where we're going to take a look at the defensive midfield role and players who can operate there very well within our Gegenpress system. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.